I've got some thoughts on Horizon Forbidden West for the PlayStation 5. Let's talk about Nintendo's decisions around the Wii U and the 3DS. And Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg star in Uncharted, and I've got my review. All that and the latest and everything cool today in the Rundown. Hey, welcome to the Rundown. My name is Victor Lucas, and I am thrilled to see you here in the Electric Playground. We've got a great episode for you today, and it is brought to you by the Gaming Stadium. They are Canada's leader in online esports tournament facilitation. They've got tournaments happening every single weekend that you don't want to miss out on, and you can find out all about them at tgs.gg. Now, the Gaming Stadium has also launched a new tournaments platform. It's called pepper.gg, and this is for those folks out there that like to put on their own tournaments, maybe put some cash on the line, some bragging rights, of course. You can find out about this new resource at pepper.gg. And of course, we have a dedication today, and today it is going out to Jordan Prilly, who had this to say on my last rundown. I cannot imagine how/if Pixar will explain interstellar travel existing for humans during the time of Toy Story, and I thought that was a very pertinent piece of conversation there because, of course, the Lightyear trailer just dropped. I talked about it in my last rundown, taking a look at all of the big stuff that came out through the Super Bowl, a little before and during the Super Bowl. Lightyear looks incredible, but you're right. How are they going to explain the actual Buzz Lightyear flying through space when it looks like we're in the 1950s, you know, in traditional suburbia in Toy Story? Anyways, that's Pixar's problem to figure out and solve for us. Can't wait to see that movie. It does look amazing. But let's talk about another movie that I've just seen and not so amazing. Uncharted is hitting theaters this week, and this is a movie that I was really looking forward to. Obviously, it stars the great Tom Holland, who has been blowing us away with his performance as Peter Parker in the Spider-Man franchise. He's done a great job there, and No Way Home really showed off his acting chops. Unfortunately, with Uncharted, what we get is Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg. We get Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland as we know them, whether they're in any other movie or whether they're in talk shows. I mean, it really doesn't give us a sense of who these characters are. Now, they've got a pretty interesting setup with the film. We're going after some lost treasure that's worth billions of dollars, and Mark Wahlberg's, I can't even call him Sully, but Mark Wahlberg wants to entreat Tom Holland to go on this big caper to go and find all of this gold that is, secretly buried somewhere, and they've got to go and find the clues, and of course they go into some tombs and dungeons, and they solve the mystery together. And it starts off kind of like an origin story might. There's a little bit of a backstory where we see a young Nathan Drake, and we see sort of how he picked up some of his predilections for criminal activity, because he's really just a thief in this movie. And of course, that's something that the Uncharted games have explored, that sort of morality kind of fine line that this character has always trod upon. But what this movie really does is it dismisses all of the incredible work that has gone into the creation of these indelible characters. And one of the things that's really been driving me nuts recently, because of course these actors, these highly competent, box office worthy actors that always bring in lots of bank, have been doing is they've been talking about this movie, and they refer to it as a video game movie. And I just watched Mark Wahlberg tell Jimmy Kimmel that you don't even have to know the video game to have a good time with this movie. And therein lies the problem, because we're not talking about any video game turned into a movie. We're talking about one of the most finely crafted video game series in existence, with some of the best storytelling that exists in any medium, and it's been turned into a very by-the-numbers, forgettable action-adventure experience that could star these actors for anything. I mean, it just does not feel like we are watching a Nathan Drake movie, an Uncharted movie, and it's unbelievably devastating for someone like me who loves this franchise, who has just been so enamored with the quality, the storytelling quality and the characterization quality, the unbelievable actors, not just voice actors, because they're performance captured and they bring so much life to these characters in the game. And then we have these two successful actors for a reason, but they're just walking through the work. You know, the script is pretty lame and weak sauce as well, because they had 5 excellent Uncharted games, plus extra story stuff to pull from, because there's been, you know, like comic series and other scripted stuff out there. But all of Naughty Dog's incredible work that they could have pulled from, and all they've done is they've taken some ideas that are, you know, some set piece stunt sequences from the Uncharted films, from the games, and they've repurposed them in a different way for this film, so it kind of alludes to the familiar, and it kind of gives you a sense that, oh yeah, I kind of know some of this stuff from the Uncharted video games, but it's not better, and in fact it's worse, and it's less memorable. I was forgetting the movie, you know, as soon as I left the theater pretty much. I was so disappointed with how half-assed the performances were, just the repartee and the back and forth. I'm not sort of throwing shade at the stunt work, because there's some fine stunt work, and it, you know, physically it looks like people committed to this, but just the back and forth, the chatter, the camaraderie that we should see exist between Victor Sullivan and Nathan Drake, it's just so weak sauce. They just don't have the charm. They just don't have the back and forth. The actor that plays Chloe Fraser, you know, has in a screenshot, you know, an image, there she is right there, looks okay, but she just doesn't have the fire and the passion and the sense of charm that we got out of Claudia Black's performance of the character in the video game, so she feels completely wasted. Antonio Banderas, who is an unbelievable actor, I love that guy, he's in this thing, and he's, you know, one of the interesting elements, but it's wasted. You know, his work is kind of wasted. And then we've got this big bad, and I forgot to find out who the name of the actor is, and she's sort of the villainess that everybody is trying to run from or shoot at or take care of, and she's in charge of all of these mercenaries. There she is holding a knife to Mark Wahlberg's head. See, I can't even call them their characters. To me, they are not their characters. And she looks good. She looks menacing, but she's... I don't know, it just looks like she spent more time making her cool hairstyle than sort of bringing real sort of menace to the performance. And I have to say this too, because I just feel like seeing Wahlberg and Tom Holland together, they could be the same freaking person. It's like we see Tom Holland 20 years later. We have the 25-year-old version of the same character, and then we have the 45-year-old version, or maybe he's closer to 50 now. But they look identical. They have the same haircut, they have the same build, and when you see them running, you can't always tell who is who, except that they focus a little bit more time on Tom Holland because he's the hot new, and Mark Wahlberg leaves the screen for a little bit. But they just look the same, and they sound the same. They have the same kind of East Coast accent, and they're both trying to outsmart-ass each other, and it's just like, why didn't you put a little effort into it? Why didn't you put some gray, at least, in Mark Wahlberg's hair? Why is the mustache a big freaking reveal in this movie? That's the character of Victor Sullivan. Why didn't you have that? Look at all of this excellent work that we have in the games to be able to discern these characters and to see, you know, the differences between them and to get the subtleties, and they didn't do any of that. These are just generic action heroes, and they're virtually the same dude, and it's so frustrating, man. They didn't change their voices. You know, Mark Wahlberg didn't like add an extra sort of aged timbre to anything at all, and you know, it might as well just be Peter Parker as Nathan Drake in this movie. And I was just deflated, you know? It was just so absolutely forgettable. And what drives me nuts, of course, is that this is a big year for Sony with this game coming out, with the Uncharted 4 game coming out, and the movie is out there now, and The Last of Us is coming, and Naughty Dog is, you know, sort of helping to shape all of this stuff. There are some interesting set pieces, like the much publicized plane sequence where we see all of the cargo blast out of the back of it, but we've already experienced that in Uncharted 3, and it was better, and that's what drives me nuts. It's like, okay, well, it's not like you had, you know, just some concept art on the wall and some ideas on a script. You had excellent visual documentation of how to put these stories together and how to put these characters together in something that was going to really give us a gut punch and we were going to care about. And it's so forgettable. It's so freaking disappointing. I honestly just want them to scrub it. I hope it doesn't do well. I really do. I want them to scrub it. I want them to recast it. I think these actors are not right for the role. They're great actors. They're not right for the roles. I just didn't believe them in their roles. I thought they were just kind of like there because it was being made. There was no passion behind it. And honestly, the video game industry and the movie industry can work together quite well. We saw that with Sonic the Hedgehog. I cheekily pointed out that I enjoyed the Prince of Persia movie that Jake Gyllenhaal did in a tweet about this show today, more than this movie, which that's inexcusable. It's 2022. We've had all of these failures all the way along with video game movies, and this is just another one. It's just like heap it on the pile. The Tomb Raider movies are much better than this junk. It's so forgettable and disappointing, and I was just deflated. I walked out going, how the hell do you screw this up? How do you screw it up? I want to spoil stuff, but I'm not going to spoil stuff, but it is just such a lame piece of work. And I don't know who to cast the blame at, but it's just not worthy. It's not worthy of the name. And honestly, like, Uncharted is some of the best storytelling there is. It way better than it had any right to be, because when we first started playing those games, it was like, oh yeah, this is kind of like Indiana Jones, and it's kind of cute and stuff, and but how are they going to differentiate? And they did. How are they going to be better or different from Tomb Raider and as valid as And they were, and they got better. And Uncharted 2 is one of the best story video game experience hybrids ever. And these characters are unforgettable, except when you cast Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg as these characters and other actors that I don't even know or care about. And God, I just don't want them to make more. I want them to start over. And I was so frustrated. I think you can tell. I really did not like this movie at all. And it's because I have a passion for the characters and the stories from the games. I just cannot believe it. And honestly, the film business has no right to take these properties, especially at this level, and not excel, not make them better. Like if you're going to take these and reinterpret them, how arrogant is it to just dismiss all of the incredible work that has gone into crafting these experiences and these characters and these moments, and just say, we'll just sort of tweak it and turn it into... It's like if they took the Batman origin story and they made young Bruce Wayne a killer there, like he stopped his parents from being killed, and he got off on being a guy that could beat up bad guys, and then he becomes Batman. It's like, it's so infuriating. A little interpretation is fine, but they went off the rails with this one, and it starts with the casting. I mean, we were all in shock when they said Tom Holland is going to be Nathan Drake, and I got to tell you, it's worse than I imagined. It's much worse than I imagined. I thought, okay, all right, they're going to play with this. They're going to really kind of add some emotional layers, and you don't give a crap about anybody in this movie. It's awful. Oh, God, what a disappointment. I have to tell you, one of the things that just drives me insane about this thing, Uncharted has some of the best music in games, too. It's got, at every level. It's at the top of the medium. At every level. You don't take the best of the medium and then turn it into crap, forgettable crap. That's exactly what they did. With the music in Uncharted is so memorable. It's so rich with adventure, and it fills you with emotion. You walk away from the games, you're humming They didn't even use the theme song. I looked at my watch. We were about an hour and 40 minutes into the movie before the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, before that came in, and they used it in such a sort of nondescript, sort of like elevator muzak way, and all of the rest of the music throughout the movie is just so forgettable. It's just like, we should be excited now, except I wasn't. I didn't care. I didn't believe that there was ever any danger. I think you get it. This movie sucks. I'm giving it a 4 out of 10, and it's only because I liked some of the stunt work in this thing, and I don't even know if that was Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg in those sequences. Oh, so disappointed. All right, so I was very disappointed with that experience, but something else has been disappointing me, and I guess this episode is I'm getting stuff off my chest. Nintendo posted that as of late March 2023, it will no longer be possible to make Nintendo eShop purchases for the Wii U and the Nintendo 3DS family of systems. And then they followed that up with just an absolutely patronizing tweet. We thank you for supporting Nintendo eShop on Wii U and the Nintendo 3DS family of systems. Additionally, you may look back on your time with them via various play statistics, and then they've got Nintendo 3DS and Wii U memories. Come on, Nintendo. Come on. What are you doing? I know you're doing some great stuff with Nintendo Switch Online and being able to access all of that content, and now you've thrown in the Mario Kart tracks and all that stuff, and we are getting some classic material served up there. But there are games on the 3DS and the Wii U that people want to be able to have access to. If you close down that store and just say, well, that existed, but you can't get any of that stuff anymore, what the hell are you doing? The video game industry cannot just completely drop any connection to its past. It's so stupid to do that. We need to be able to access this material, and it's not like it's new tech or new ideas. Steam has been giving people the opportunity to every time I load up Steam on a new computer, I download Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions from the Xbox 360 era because I want to see how it runs on modern tech, and I love that game. And I feel like games should be preserved like that forever. And so if Nintendo, you have every right to shut down the servers and the store and the access to technology that you think is dated and dead, but it's that software. Why are you cutting off the access to that software? You know, the Wii U was one of the best things about it was its backwards compatibility with the Wii, and it's all the games that you could play through Virtual Console and go on the eShop. There were some solid games for the machine, but the machine really existed as this great kind of bridge to a lot of different eras around Nintendo, and that's the same thing with the 3DS as well. When the 3DS came out, a big sort of selling feature with that was that there was going to be the Virtual Console on the eShop. And so people were able to purchase classic games and build up quite a library there, but also lots of DSiWare and 3DS downloadable only titles. One of them that people talk about here is Rusty's Real Deal Baseball, which kind of turned baseball into this super arcadey, joyful experience. You will not be able to play this game unless you have a 3DS. You're going to be able to continue to download the software if you've already purchased it, but why wouldn't you let players have access to this stuff? The capabilities are there to use emulation to put all of this software onto current existing platforms like the Nintendo Switch, and I really don't understand why the next part of this discussion isn't, okay, well, we're closing down. The same goes for Sony and Microsoft, although Microsoft, as we all know, is doing a pretty decent job with backwards compatibility. But if you're going to close down a store, you should open up that store on your existing platform and say, well, you can download the stuff you've already bought, but if you've never tested this great software, and make collections and say you should check these out. You probably missed these things. You know, maybe you got into gaming a little bit later. Check them out now, and you can play them through emulation on the Nintendo Switch. People would be thrilled with that, and I just cannot believe that here we go again. We're going to have another storefront just shut down, and all of that software, all of that legacy content is just inexcusably cut off from people. It's just so infuriating. So we've got a year, and I know Nintendo is hearing it from not just me. I think I saw John Linneman from Digital Foundry was talking about that, and Gene Park from the Washington Post, and GameSpot's writing stuff here, and everybody's commenting on this. We need to change this in the video game industry. And not only do we need to change this at the company level, there needs to be kind of standardization for how this classic content is preserved and served up to people, and people really need to feel like when they purchase something on a digital store, it will exist, you know, no matter what happens. There will be a way to get it. You know, I'll give you a good example. There was some Blu-rays and stuff that I picked up along the way. I have them in my collection, and you would get digital codes, and there were different digital stores that would allow you to redeem them and watch them on your various devices out there. I think one of them was called Flickster or something, so I had a bunch of movies on Flickster. One service that ended up dying, but at least they gave all of that library content to Google. And so now whenever I log into my Google account, I have all of the movies that I redeemed codes for the Blu-rays that I bought, and now they're attached to my Google account. That kind of thing should continue to happen in the video game industry. And honestly, like, if Nintendo doesn't want to deal with the emulators and all that stuff, then work out a deal with Steam, for Christ's sakes, or somebody else, so that people can have access to that back catalog. If they bought it already, they should be able to download it no matter where they go technologically. And this idea that the industry can't think of what to do, and it's like, let's wipe the slate clean and it's all brand new every single time. Screw that. That's total bullshit, and it needs to stop. It needs to, be more consumer facing, and you need to be able to take your purchases with you. And I really hope Nintendo just gets blasted for this decision, and Sony too. It's ridiculous. At this point, it's an affront to the creators of this art, the people that built this stuff, and say, okay, well, it existed and it was a memory, no one can buy it again. So people obviously are downloading it illegally and playing it through emulators out there. But they could be purchased, and it could go back to the creators of these games and legally provide a service that honors the history of the medium, but also, puts money into the pockets of game makers for a long time, which is exactly what this business needs, But nope, we have this ridiculous kind of situation in this industry where it's like, oh yeah, let's do a Men in Black mind wipe and we'll forget everything that happened pre-Nintendo Switch. No, it's not cool. All right, let me know what you guys think. I think I probably can predict what you guys all have to say about that, but I think it's garbage, and I really hope Nintendo hears it from everybody and reverses course. And it's not just like what Sony did with the PSP store, and because those are going to close down too. It's like, no, the industry should allow people to access that content no matter what happens. If they keep making machines, those new machines should carry over those digital purchases. End stop, especially as we're pivoting to digital only, and even physical games that are out there. I see a lot of people tweeting back at me, when I talked about this, saying, well, that's why I buy physical only. Guess what? Physical is tied to digital accounts now, and half the time you have to download tons of stuff in order to get a game to work, and half the time you have to be online. But yeah, Nintendo should reverse course and change that decision and work with Sony and Microsoft and create some standardization around this. Yes? Who's with me on that one? All right, you guys, I want to calm down a little bit, and let's talk a little bit about my experiences with Horizon Forbidden West. 5 years it's been since Horizon Zero Dawn came out. 5 years. And if you can put that amount of time into, a number, into a dollar figure that Sony invested in for a sequel to that game, with Guerrilla Games, that is an incredible commitment. Horizon Zero Dawn was an amazing game when it came out in 2017. And one of the most impressive things about it is that it came out right around the same time as Zelda Breath of the Wild came out. And I remember reviewing both of them with Johnny Millennium. I think we did a versus, a head-to-head, and I reviewed Zelda with Ben Silverman back then. And both of those games captivated us like crazy, but here was a new idea, a new concept from the Killzone team going into action, adventure, role-playing kind of style, very much built on this elaborate science fiction storyline and all of these crazy plot threads, this sort of fusion of medieval imagery and, very primitive imagery, coupled with some interesting machine technology and weaponry. And it was crazy. It was just such a crazy, ambitious idea. And I remember seeing it at the previous game at several E3s thinking, I don't know, man. I don't know if this is all going to come together. But of course it did. Here is Horizon Forbidden West on the PlayStation 5. And honestly, there's, not much more than I can say than this about this game. This is why you have a PlayStation. It's games like this. It's the investment that PlayStation makes into experiences like this. 5 freaking years this team of probably hundreds worked on it and labored over it. You can see it. It's all over the place. It's in every element of the locations. It's in every internal area. This, I do want to bring up, though, that the game is not perfect. It has vastly improved its traversal mechanics and its ability to, for Aloy to be able to climb and get through. But you can see me struggling to get through doors. There are some collision issues here. And there's also oftentimes so much detail in the world that it gets a little bit confusing about where you're supposed to go. And so, like you can see the dust particles and all the stuff coming in, and animal characters and machine animal characters in the background, and it can be a little bit overwhelming, and that was the case with the first game, but obviously everything is just improved and much more beatific in this experience. Now, I haven't played the game all the way through. I'm probably about 6 or 8 hours or so into the game, so I've got a lot more to play, but I've, gotten a handle on some of the systems and some of the mechanics. It's been fun to be able to see that it's easier to get around the world now. Obviously, you've got some carryover with the weaponry and the equipment and stuff, so you can take control of some of these monsters and be able to ride them. You're racing around, helping people. There's lots of side quests, and there is a massive open world for you to explore here. And it's in the future, but it's a devastated future. So you see the remnants of the civilization that we know and elements from the world that we know. But everything has been obviously enhanced because we're going into new territory. We're going out west, and we're seeing a lot more color, a lot more jungle-like foliage and stuff. And of course, there's also lots of exploration inside of caves and tunnels and swimming. And there's lots and lots of beautiful ways to be distracted by the experience. And that's exactly what this game is. I mean, it's one of those titles where you just do not want to stop playing, and the game just keeps giving you all kinds of great new reward and challenge and interesting characters that are served up. And it's all with this level of commitment that is just irrefutable. Like you're playing the game and you're recognizing this is state-of-the-art stuff here that we're talking about. This is masterpiece type development, and it comes from the idea that corporation says, look, it's incredibly important for us to make video games that push the medium forward and get people thinking about this art form in, significantly improved and enhanced ways to get people to feel like, oh my God, video games can stand head and shoulders or, side by side with anything else in the artistic sphere that humans have been able to create. And they do. And it's because of games like this that you kind of see that, and it's very well crystallized for you. The combat in the title is really enjoyable as well. I mean, Aloy is an incredible athlete, so she can duck and dive and flip and fly, and she's got the ability to slow down time when you press down on the thumbstick so you can get some arrows off. And of course, she's got all kinds of different traps and different sort of Batman-like tools in her kit, so she can hurl bombs out that will freeze enemies and stuff like that. It's incredibly enjoyable to play. And I obviously it's stunning to look at, and one of the things that I really appreciated too, and what I've been able to play so far, and I can't wait to go back to it, it's really hard to pull myself off of the controller. DualSense is amazing in this game as well. You can feel like the tension when you have to open doors or pull back the bowstrings and stuff like that. But one thing I definitely noticed while I was playing this game is just how awesome the music is. It's just this great fusion of orchestral swells and also this electronic kind of cadence that sort of permeates through everything. And it's a great realization of what the game sort of projects at you. It is this, nature has overcome technology, but they coexist in this kind of clumsy, interesting way. And it's really fun to examine it. The ruins that are overrun with tree limbs and things like that. You have to kind of find a way through it. And the music is just a perfect accompaniment to all of that. It's really, really incredible. What an amazing experience. I'm not going to score it because I've still got more to play. But like I say, this is why one would have a PlayStation 5 or 4, because you can still play it on the PlayStation 4. But it is, absolutely stunning on the PlayStation 5. And yes, I'm playing in performance mode. I had I tested it out a little bit in sort of resolution mode, so you can see a little bit more detail. And you do see the bump up in the visuals. But almost all of this footage you're seeing here is recorded in performance mode, and faces look incredible. This is an incredible sequence here too. You go to towns and they are just teeming with life and activity, and of course some of these characters you'll be able to walk up to and have a discussion with, and they might send you out on a side quest, and it's all seamlessly done. But you also you exit a huge space like that, which has lots of life in it, into an open world that is also teeming with life, and you can walk up to characters there, and you just get a sense of the scope and scale. And I'm relatively early in the game, but I know that is just going to keep expanding and keep blowing my mind. So Horizon Forbidden West is not one to be missed. I'll come back with my full thoughts, my final thoughts on the game. I've got more to play, and I can't wait to get back to play it. All right, I've got one last thing to tell you guys about, and that is Sonic the Hedgehog, which is coming out in April. And this game looks great. This movie based on a game. Here we go. Here's a good movie based on a video game. Well, the first movie I loved. We're getting this sequel in April, and I talked about it yesterday in the rundown because the trailer that was revealed at the Super Bowl, it looked fantastic. They introduced Idris Elba as Knuckles. Well, incredible news already. Before the movie has come out, Sonic 3 has been greenlit, so we're going to get another sequel to Sonic the Hedgehog. So what that says to me is that Sonic 2 looks pretty damn good to the executives involved. And of course, this is all tied into the hype around Sonic Frontiers, which Sega is publishing this year. But another piece of this puzzle is that Knuckles is going to get his own Paramount Plus TV series, a spin-off live-action show starring Knuckles. So huge news in the Sonic world, and I'm wondering, how do you just do a Knuckles thing and not have Sonic at least appear sometimes? Ben Schwartz has just done an amazing job taking over for Roger Craig Smith as this new movie Sonic. I think he's just wonderful. But now that makes me more excited than I already was to go and see Sonic 2. I hope it's incredible because I love that first movie. And in fact, watch Sonic 1. Don't watch Uncharted, okay? If you haven't seen Sonic 1, watch that. 1 to 5 times, but don't go and spend your money on that Uncharted piece of crap. Okay, you guys, that's going to do it for the rundown today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again soon with a brand new one. Thank you for subscribing to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/EPNTV, and following us and subscribing over at our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/EPN. You guys are incredible. Thank you to our members and to our subscribers out there. Thank you so much for your support. We'll see you soon, and until then, play forever.